Welcome back to Iron Verge, where we don't just talk about reality, we tear it apart piece by piece. Today we're diving into a subject most men feel but never quite articulate: nagging. And not the kind your grandma did when you forgot your jacket. We're talking about modern, chronic, soul-sapping nagging that has evolved into a subtle weapon of control, one that emotionally neuters men and strips them of their dignity. Nagging isn't just an annoyance. It's a systematic way to undermine male confidence, question their worth, and reshape their behavior through guilt, repetition, and emotional fatigue. Most men don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. They wake up one day emotionally drained, walking on eggshells, asking permission to be themselves. This is not marriage, it's not love, it's psychological warfare with a smile. Modern nagging doesn't come with yelling anymore. It comes with sighs, with backhanded compliments, with subtle criticisms masked as concern. Oh, are you really wearing that? Do you have to play video games again? Why can't you be more like her husband? It's slow, it's surgical, and it works. Men stop doing the things they enjoy, they stop speaking their minds, they bend, then they break. By the way, if you've ever felt this slow erosion of your identity, you're not crazy, and you're not alone. If this hits home, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that truth still matters. Now here's where MGTOW comes in. MGTOW exists because men are tired. They're tired of being the silent workhorse in a relationship where every move is monitored, judged, and revised by a partner who sees them as a project instead of a person. MGTOW is not about hating women. It's about recognizing a toxic pattern and walking away from it. And modern nagging is a massive part of that toxicity. Nagging is the symptom of a deeper societal shift, the growing entitlement that teaches women they are emotionally superior, morally correct, and that it's their job to fix the man they're with. But here's the reality: men are not broken. They're simply not feminine, and they don't need to be. When you live with someone who constantly questions your choices, your habits, and your values, it isn't partnership, it's psychological reprogramming. Nagging is often justified with phrases like, "I'm just trying to help. If I don't remind him, he won't do it. Why should I have to keep asking?" But those questions ignore a critical truth. Adult men are not meant to be parented by their wives or girlfriends. That dynamic kills attraction, respect, and intimacy. And here's the brutal part. Once a man is trained through nagging, he no longer behaves like a man. He becomes passive, silent, obedient, and eventually invisible. He gives up hobbies, friends, peace, his voice, and the woman? She loses interest. Because ironically, she doesn't want the man she's created, she wanted the man she changed. If you're still thinking, maybe she just wants the best for me, here's the test. Ask yourself this: does she listen when you set boundaries? Does she accept when you ask for change? Or does she call it controlling or toxic? Because if your voice is dismissed while hers is weaponized, you're not in a relationship. You're in a one-way compliance program. This is why MGTOW is growing. More men are choosing peace over chaos, freedom over constant emotional micromanagement. They're realizing that love without respect is just servitude. Nagging is only effective when men feel they have something to lose, the threat of disapproval, of withdrawal, of shame. But what happens when a man doesn't fear those anymore? What happens when he chooses himself first? The answer? He becomes free. Now, this doesn't mean every woman nags, but the culture does encourage it. Shows portray men as bumbling idiots. Commercials paint dads as clueless. Social media floods us with content mocking man behavior like enjoying silence, hobbies, or being blunt. And behind every joke, there's a sharp little knife. Nagging works because society tells women it's their role to mold a man into something better. But what it really does is sap the life out of him until he barely resembles the man she once admired. Let me say this loud. If she can't love you at 100%, she doesn't deserve to manage you down to 60. Nagging doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It often begins with subtle, persistent criticisms that escalate over time. At first, it might be a complaint about how you wash the dishes. Then it grows into judgment about your habits, your friends, even your career. Eventually, everything you do is filtered through a lens of dissatisfaction. It's a slow erosion of self-worth, disguised as concern or communication. But the truth is, it's control, bit by bit, word by word. It's not about fixing problems. It's about reshaping a man into something more convenient, more pliable, less defiant. And most men, they endure it, thinking it's just part of the package, that if they push back, they're the bad guy, that somehow they're the problem. This is the emotional grind that pushes so many into the MGTOW path. Because once you realize the cost of peace in a relationship is your identity, walking away no longer feels radical, it feels like freedom. Nagging is not a joke, it's not harmless, it's psychological warfare in slow motion, and every man who's gone through it knows it doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves scars. If you've made it this far, drop a comment about the worst nagging experience you've ever had or witnessed. The more we talk, the more we break the silence. Back to the meat of it. Chronic nagging doesn't just kill relationships, it rewires the male brain, it creates anxiety, suppresses masculinity, and in extreme cases even leads to emotional burnout and depression. When a man feels like a failure at home, even if he's succeeding outside, it creates an inner conflict that wears him down like a river carves through stone. He becomes the man who stops dreaming, who stops laughing, who stops living. And here's the kicker. Even if he tries to communicate this pain, he's often told he's being too sensitive or just needs to man up. So not only is he trained to obey, he's shamed when he speaks up. MGTOW says, no. No more double standards, no more emotional blackmail, no more being the emotional punching bag for a partner who thinks her discomfort justifies your submission. MGTOW says enough. It offers an exit, a life where a man can live authentically without needing to ask permission for his own existence. Because the man who stands alone but stands strong is still a man. The man who walks away from noise but keeps his peace is still powerful. And if that bothers modern culture, maybe it should. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be better. You need to be whole. So if you're tired of being nagged into silence, manipulated into guilt, or trained to serve a woman who sees herself as your superior, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this love? Or is this a slow emotional death? And if the answer is clear, start walking. MGTOW is not about bitterness, it's about liberation. And on this channel, we'll always speak that truth, whether the world likes it or not. Subscribe if you're done being the quiet casualty in someone else's power trip. You don't owe anyone your peace, you don't owe anyone your silence, and you damn sure don't owe anyone your manhood.